Hello, my name is Stephen Nelson, and this is my Unit 12 screencast. As you can see here, I've got the weather maps for this week in March. As we go along here, you can see broad area of high pressure over the interior and the south central portions of the state, and even mostly over here as well. Have low pressure building in the Gulf, and as the week progresses, forms into a pretty good system there with an occluded front, and pretty tightly packed pressure gradients. And this cyclone just kind of builds and strengthens in the Gulf, pushes that occluded front north as the week progresses, and then eventually it starts to drift over here to the west, out over the Alaska Peninsula and into over the Aleutian Range, and then kind of begins to die out for a week in there. Looks like another low pressure cyclone starts forming here on Friday, and forecasted there the next day to kind of merge and again move in the northern portion of the Gulf of Alaska. So we've learned a little bit about low pressure systems, cyclones, and anticyclones, and fair weather typically is associated with these high pressure systems. Fair weather and typically in Alaska, colder temperatures, particularly at nighttime, and then also associated with these cyclones, you will have the frontal systems, and as you can see right along those, widespread cloud cover and pretty steady precipitation. It looks like moderate on this particular map. Further behind, it'll be more showery. As you can see here with the Dillingham, and let's use Kenai as well, before the low pressure system really gets there. Wider range of temperature fluctuations, high to low, and then with the cloud cover there's less variation, simply because the cloud cover prevents as much daytime heating and less nocturnal radiational cooling. So as you can see here, there's the actual temperatures recorded throughout the week. Generally started a little colder and then warmed up with the drop in pressure as the frontal system pushed in. And one thing of note is looking at the Fairbanks and the interior. As you can see, it was fairly cold, but warmed up to record temperatures on the 26th, I believe, for Fairbanks, and I believe that's due to the low pressure systems pushing all that moisture up against the mountains, and then associated with those mountains, all the moisture expanding and cooling, and then coming down and compressing and warming on the other side of the mountains, and getting the Chinook winds can definitely raise the temperature on the north side of those mountains when you get the storm on the south side. And here's my worksheet for the week, looking at the persistence forecast and the climatology forecast. It looks like they were more accurate in Kenai and Dillingham, at least the persistence. The climatology was more accurate in Kenai and Dead Horse, as well as Northway. The National Weather Service forecast, just scrolling down here, seems to be quite a bit more accurate all around for all stations, with the exception of Bethel, and Eagle was still pretty inaccurate. So I think the Kenai is a little bit easier to forecast, probably because there's more weather observations and therefore more data to analyze, and be a bit easier to predict. And the forecast for Tuesday was generally better than Friday's. Of course, more up-to-minute data will, of course, make for easier forecasting. And I think with Fairbanks, for example, Northway, a Dead Horse, I'm not surprised that they would nail those. Typically much colder, higher pressure, and it's pretty similar conditions throughout the year. Like I said, the high pressure, it's pretty easy to just say, okay, it's going to be cold. This is what it was doing last year. Should be very similar. And I think the low pressure and the Chinook winds kind of threw off the Friday forecast there for Fairbanks. My student trend forecast for low pressure system, I put 994 millibars. It actually turned out to be 983 on that map, and it was right over Kodiak Island as opposed to just north. I was tracking it north and expecting it to continue to rise. If it continued to rise that same pressure, I think I would have been pretty close. Probably should have expected it to stop rising quite as rapidly as it had been. As you can see there, it was on Tuesday, today's weather, and what they had forecasted for Wednesday and Thursday. So what I was expecting was a little bit higher conditions, but as you can see, it's not what happened exactly. So what I've gleaned from this lesson is forecasting can be pretty difficult with just persistence, and climatology can be very inaccurate. Although with climatology you can get the fair weather bias. Naturally, there's going to be more fair weather days in most places than bad weather days, so it's easy to just forecast those fair weather conditions. So the best forecasting will be using computer models which take into effect multiple site locations, observations, hourly observations, and not just using the computer models, but also using one's experience with how local terrain and little nuances of local features that can change what a low pressure system or high pressure system might normally do. But that's the end of my screencast. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day.